Welcome to 35-Minute Frankenstein. My name is Thomas. We are going to go ahead and call this episode 3. We're going to call this episode Victor. And we're going to open off with a quick interview with Captain Robert Walton. Captain Robert Walton is the reason for this expedition. This is the ship that we're on. These are some of the things that we are encountering in this chapter. There's a novel somewhere buried under this collage. The collage is to help us understand what's going on. My name is Thomas. I think I already said that, but this is Reading Renaissance, and we do read here, but we're going to start visually. We're going to be looking at letter 3 and letter 4 from Mary Shelley's masterpiece that I'm going to go ahead and throw out on the table here. Frankenstein. There it is. And funny enough, there he is. So the first time in the novel that the reader, sees Frankenstein, we see him from the deck of this ship, this unnamed ship that is captained by this man. And we hear about it in a letter that he writes to his beloved sister, Margaret. She's right here. So we're going to do a quick interview with this man and say like, hey, Captain Robert Walton, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life up here, man? Why are you in the polar regions? And when we're talking to Captain Robert Walton, we're really talking to our author, who looks an awful lot like him by design. Full disclosure, I drew them. Mary Shelley. So, but we're going to get her out of there because she's kind of distracting. She's actually not on the ship. It's a fictional ship. She's an actual person. Let's not get our wires crossed here. So what are you doing up there, man? What I'm doing up there is I am going to discover the secrets of magnetism. No matter what, I'm going to discover magnetism. Oh, that's very sci-fi of you, buddy. Way to go. Magnetism. Cool. Yeah. And also, I have no friends. I don't actually have a single friend, and I'm feeling despair to the very depths of my soul. Oh, that's very gothic of you, buddy. Okay, cool. And also, no matter what happens, I will always be embracing the beauty that I see around me to the very, very depths of my soul, even maybe to the boundary of death and maybe beyond. Oh, that's incredibly romantic, my friend. You must have been spending some time in the volcano of romantic, gothic, sci-fi fusion. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for playing along. What's next? Talking about these things. Oh, Victor. So this is where we're going to end up. And I'll read this quote to you right now because it's absolutely heartbreaking. And that's what Victor looks like. I tried to capture what he looks like as described by this quote right here. Strange and harrowing must be his story. Frightful the storm which embraced the gallant vessel on its course and wrecked it thus. And of course, the gallant vessel is poor Victor's face, his whole demeanor, his whole everything. He is the ship that is being referred to in that beautiful, beautiful metaphor. Bro is wrecked by his life. And so that is the deep, deep mystery that Shelley is masterfully inviting us into through letter number 3 and letter number 4. And that's where we're going today. We're going to read those letters, every single word, as we do on Reading Renaissance. We read. But first, we vocabulary. And so I'm going to get the vocabulary journal out in front of us, and we'll get right to it. And you can do it. That flip was for you. That flip was for everybody. Everybody that's copying down every word, that flip was for you. You got this. There it is. Is it okay to do a vocab? We're gonna open this book up so that Victor's not gonna be looking at us with that look. Oh my goodness, Victor, brother. Are things gonna get better for Victor? You kind of wonder. I don't know if they're gonna get better for Victor. I don't know. Those are the questions. You know, are there things that you do that can happen to you that you can never recover from? I guess we'll find out. I think there's some really big questions that we're going to encounter in today's reading. And so maybe I'll write those down as we go. We'll see. We'll see what we do. There's not a huge amount of reading, and there's not a huge amount of vocabulary for today. Here we are in letter 3 right now, and it's just these words and then these words, and that's it. So I'll give you your preview. Remember, different people do vocabulary in different ways, and that is great. We love that different people do it different ways. And so here we go. This is for our quick vocabulary people who just do a quick copy, and then in the reading, they just flip through real quick. There we go. Quick vocabulary people. Now I'm going to read them. All right, letter 3. Gales. Oh my goodness, we just had the gales of November right here. I think today's like November 12th. The gales of November, they took down the Edmund Fitzgerald. Oh, Gitchgumi. So those are winds and storms. To befall is just something that happened. We're going to see that word real quick in the text. We have persevering, which is just not giving up. To persevere is to keep going no matter what. Unqualified is to qualify something is to say like, oh, well, you're a really good student, but you should do your more homework. That's like a little qualification of a statement. So unqualified is like, there's no doubt, like there's nothing to say, like you simply are outstanding. An apparition is something like sometimes like you just can't quite see it, or sometimes it could be a ghost like, or sometimes it could just be a straight up ghost. To denote, in the context that it's used in the book, it means to indicate. Like it means like, oh, well, that means, or that like indicates that you can tell from that it's this. To denote a lot of times means like, it means this. To capitulate is to give up. Like, oh, please, 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 please. No. Okay, fine. I just capitulated. Emaciated is a good word to know. It's a bad word to be. It means that you are so starved that your like bones are sticking out. Your countenance is your face. So you could, like, if you wanted to say to your friend, like, nice countenance, bro. Like that wouldn't be nice if you said it like that. Like, if your friend looked funny or something like that, but that would make you not a nice person. Melancholy. Oh, there it is. Melancholy. Yeah, that's when you're in your feels, when you're in your sads. Despairing. These are just different words for like, when you're not doing so hot, you're not feeling so great. You're, you're feeling emotional, maybe depressed, maybe just going through some stuff. Despairing. Impertinent is kind of like, bold, disrespectful, sometimes impatient, sometimes like you're not in your correct place. You're kind of overstepping your bounds. Impertinent. Inquisitiveness has to do with like asking questions. You're like curious, and then you're, kind of in somebody's face asking questions. Benevolence is kindness. Beneficios, benevolent, like benevolence. All those, it's like that. Bene is like a Latin root that means good. Conciliating is peaceful, bringing together. Reconciliation is like coming back together, coming together. It's like peaceful, like peace. Amiable, if you speak a Latin rooted language like Spanish or something like that, like amabile. Those are the same word. Amiable and amabile are the same word in different languages. Poignant is bringing out an emotion, so something can be poignantly sad. Usually it's like a negative emotion, like sad or poignant. Melancholy can be like kind of poignant. It's a picture can be poignant, or like a moment. Sunsets can be poignant, or like the last time you saw someone or did something. It can be like a very poignant memory, because the memory brings out the emotion. These are great words to have, folks. If you don't have them, it's like, well, how do you think about that stuff? Cultivated are things that are grown. Cultivation is the growing of things. Beautiful language is eloquence. Eloquence is a Great word. My heart hurts for people who don't know what eloquence is, because how do you describe me? Okay, all right. Paroxysm, maybe you just had a paroxysm of laughter, a sudden, evident explosion of emotion. Violent. Unfashioned. The way that he uses it here is like we're unfinished. He says we are unfashioned. Like we're not finished when we're born. That's why we need our friends. It's a really beautiful statement about friendship. There's a lot of like little secret, little hidden pieces of beauty in this novel, little things that she notices. That's what great writers are. Great writers are people who notice things that are really true, and then they just slip them into their novels, like maybe when you don't expect it. And she does that all the time. Intuitive are gut feelings. Like you have a strong sense of something or a strong feeling and you just go with it. Discernment, these are evaluations, like decisions, like you can kind of decide things. Ameliorate is to make something better, usually something bad. I try to ameliorate learning. Some people, learning can be kind of painful, or going to school can be kind of painful. Most people actually enjoy learning. But going to school can be a bit of a bummer for a lot of people. And then finally, lustrous. And that's it, folks. Was that world record time for vocabulary? And then we get to go on to the text, I believe. Letter 3 to Mrs. Saville, England, July 7th, late 1700s. My dear sister, I wrote a few lines in haste to say that I am safe and well advanced on my voyage. This letter will reach England by a merchantman now on its homeward voyage from Archangel, more fortunate than I, who may not see my native land, perhaps for many years. I am, however, in good spirits. My men are bold and apparently firm of purpose, nor do the floating sheets of ice that continually pass us, indicating the dangers of the region towards which we are advancing, appear to dismay them. We have already reached a very high latitude, but it is the height of summer, and although not so warm as in England, the southern gales which blow us speedily towards those shores which I so ardently desire to attain, breathe a degree of renovating warmth which I had not expected. No incidents have hitherto befallen us that would make a figure of a letter. One or two stiff gales and the springing of a leak are accidents which experienced navigators scarcely remember to record, and I shall be well content if nothing worse happen to us during our voyage. Adieu, my dear Margaret. Be assured that for my own sake, as well as yours, I will not rashly encounter danger. I will be cool, persevering, and prudent. But success shall crown my endeavors. Wherefore not? Thus far I have gone, tracing a secure way over the pathless seas, the very stars themselves being witnesses and testimonies of my triumph. Why not still proceed over the untamed yet obedient element? What can stop the determined heart and resolved will of man? My swelling heart involuntarily pours itself out thus, but I must finish. Heaven bless my beloved sister. What can stop the determined heart and resolved will of man? I don't know. The universe, God, destiny, a volcano. Letter 4 to Mrs. Saville, England, August 5th, late 1700s. So strange an accident has happened to us that I cannot forbear recording it, although it is very probable that you will see me before these papers can come into your possession. Last Monday, July 31st, we were nearly surrounded by ice, which closed in the ship on all sides, scarcely leaving her the sea room in which she floated. Our situation was somewhat dangerous, especially as we were compassed round by a very thick fog. We accordingly laid to, hoping that some change would take place in the atmosphere and weather. About 2:00 the mist cleared away, and we beheld, stretched out in every direction, vast and irregular plains of ice, which seemed to have no end. Some of my comrades groaned, and my own mind began to grow watchful with anxious thoughts, when a strange sight suddenly attracted our attention and diverted our solicitude from our own situation. We perceived a low carriage fixed on a sledge and drawn by dogs pass on towards the north at a distance of half a mile. A being which had the shape of a man, but apparently of gigantic stature, sat in the sledge, guided by dogs. We watched the rapid progress of the traveler. Special effects. There he goes. We'll put him up there. With our telescopes until he was lost among the distant inequalities of the ice. This appearance excited our unqualified wonder. We were, as we believed, many hundred miles from any land, but this apparition seemed to denote that it was not, in reality, so distant as we had supposed. Shut in, however, by ice, it was impossible to follow his track, which we had observed with the greatest attention. About 2 hours after this occurrence, we heard the ground sea, and before night, the ice broke and freed our ship. We, however, lay to until the morning, fearing to encounter in the dark those loose masses which float about after the breakup of the ice. I profited of this time to rest for a few hours. In the morning, however, as soon as it was light, I went upon deck and found all the sailors busy on one side of the vessel, apparently talking to someone in the sea. It was, in fact, a sledge, like that we had seen before, which had drifted towards us in the night on a large fragment of ice. Only one dog remained alive, but there was a human being within it, whom the sailors were persuading to enter the vessel. He was not, as the other travelers seemed to be, a savage inhabitant of some undiscovered island, but a European. When I appeared on deck, the master said, "Here is our captain, and he will not allow you to perish on the open sea." On perceiving me, the stranger addressed me in English, although with a foreign accent. "Before I come on board your vessel," said he, "will you have the kindness to inform me whither you are bound?" You may conceive my astonishment on hearing such a question addressed to me from a man on the brink of destruction, and to whom I should have supposed that my vessel would have been a resource which he would not have exchanged for the most precious wealth the earth can afford. I replied, however, that we were on a voyage of discovery towards the northern pole. Upon hearing this, he appeared satisfied and consented to come on board. Good God, Margaret! If you had seen the man who thus capitulated for his safety, your surprise would have been boundless. His limbs were nearly frozen, and his body dreadfully emaciated by fatigue and suffering. I never saw a man in so wretched a condition. We attempted to carry him into the cabin, but as soon as he had quitted the fresh air, he fainted. We accordingly brought him back to the deck and restored him to animation by rubbing him with brandy and forcing him to swallow a small quantity. As soon as he showed signs of life, we wrapped him up in blankets and placed him near the chimney of the kitchen stove. By slow degrees, he recovered and ate a little soup, which restored him wonderfully. 2 days passed in this manner before he was able to speak, and I often feared that his sufferings had deprived him of understanding. When he had in some measure recovered, I removed him to my own cabin and attended on him as much as my duty would permit. I never saw a more interesting creature. His eyes have generally an expression of wildness and even madness, but there are moments when, if anyone performs an act of kindness towards him or does any of the most trifling service, his whole countenance is lighted up, as it were, with a beam of benevolence and sweetness that I never saw equaled. But he is generally melancholy and despairing, and sometimes he gnashes his teeth as if impatient of the weight of woes that oppresses him. When my guest was a little recovered, I had great trouble to keep off the men who wished to ask him 1,000 questions, but I would not allow him to be tormented by their idle curiosity, in a state of body and mind whose restoration evidently depended upon entire repose. Once, however, the lieutenant asked why he had come so far upon the ice in so strange a vehicle. His countenance instantly assumed an aspect of the deepest gloom, and he replied, "To seek one who fled from me." "And did the man whom you pursued travel in the same fashion?" "Yes." "Well, then I fancy we have seen him, for the day before we picked you up, we saw some dogs drawing a sledge with a man in it across the ice." This aroused the stranger's attention, and he asked a multitude of questions concerning the route which the demon, as he called him, had pursued. Soon after, when he was alone with me, he said, "I have doubtless excited your curiosity, as well as that of these good people, but you are too considerate to make inquiries. Certainly, it would indeed be very impertinent and inhumane in me to trouble you with any inquisitiveness of mine. And yet you rescued me from a strange and perilous situation. You have benevolently restored me to life." Well, just one moment here. Just this is important, right? You see, because this is Victor. Victor here has been restored to life. And you see, so Victor was given life by Captain Walton. Victor gave life to the creature. Don't forget about the creature that we've just barely seen. And don't forget about Victor, of course. We'll see more of both of them later, but that's something those are the things you want to notice. You say, oh, this sentence is more important than the others. Get a sense for that when you spend your life reading. Doing other things too, but reading, yeah. Soon after this, he inquired if I thought that the breaking up of the ice had destroyed the other sledge. I replied that I could not answer with any degree of certainty, for the ice had not broken until near midnight, and the traveler might have arrived at a place of safety before that time, but of this I could not judge. From this time, a new spirit of life animated the decaying frame of the stranger. He manifested the greatest eagerness to be upon the deck to watch for the sledge which had before appeared, but I have persuaded him to remain in the cabin, for he is far too weak to sustain the rawness of the atmosphere. I have promised that someone should watch for him and give him instant notice of any new object should appear in sight. Such is my journal of what relates to this strange occurrence up to the present day. The stranger has gradually improved in health, but is very silent and appears uneasy when alone except myself, when anyone except myself enters his cabin. Yet his manners are so conciliating and gentle that the sailors are all interested in him, although they have had very little communication with him. For my own part, I begin to love him as a brother, and his constant and deep grief fills me with sympathy and compassion. He must have been a noble creature in his better days, being even now in wreck, so attractive and amiable. I said in one of my letters, my dear Margaret, that I should find no friend on the wide ocean, yet I have found a man who, before his spirit had been broken by misery, I should have been happy to have possessed as the brother of my heart. I shall continue my journal concerning the stranger at intervals, should I have any fresh incidents to record. August 13th. My affection for my guest increases every day. He excites at once my admiration and my pity to an astonishing degree. How can I see so noble a creature destroyed by misery without feeling the most poignant grief? He is so gentle, yet so wise. His mind is so cultivated, and when he speaks, although his words are cold with the choicest art, yet they flow with rapidly and unparalleled eloquence. He is now much recovered from his illness and is continually on the deck, apparently watching for the sledge that preceded his own. Yet, although unhappy, he is not so utterly occupied by his own misery, but that he interests himself deeply in the projects of others. He has frequently conversed with me on mine, which I have communicated to him without disguise. He entered attentively into all my arguments in favor of my eventual success and into every minute detail of the measures I had taken to secure it. I was easily led by the sympathy which he evinced to use the language of my heart, to give utterance to the burning ardor of my soul, and to say, with all the fervor that warmed me, how gladly I would sacrifice my fortune, my existence, my every hope to the furtherance of my enterprise. One man's life or death were but a small price to pay for the acquirement of the knowledge which I sought, for the dominion I should acquire and transmit over the elemental foes of our race. Bull volcano. This is everything. This quote is what the book is all about right here. Humankind's insane quest to control everything at the cost of everything. This is AI not only taking your job, but your identity, and then pointing your own nuclear weapons at you, and then you live in a cave. I hope that doesn't happen. That probably won't happen. One man's life or death were but a small price to pay for the acquirement of the knowledge. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Mary Shelley wasn't messing around here. As I spoke, a dark gloom spread over my listener's countenance. At first, I perceived that he tried to suppress his emotion. He placed his hands before his eyes, and my voice quivered and failed me as I beheld tears trickle fast from between his fingers. A groan burst from his heaving breast. I paused. At length he spoke in broken accents. Unhappy man, do you share my madness? Have you drunk also the intoxicating draught? Hear me. Let me reveal my tale, and you will dash the cup from your lips. Okay, so what was he drinking? What's the cup? The intoxicating power that man can solve it, man can build it, man can figure it out. It's a computer. We've got it. We'll do it. We'll build it. We'll get the chemistry right. We'll do an equation. We can figure it out. Dude, just sit by a stream. Watch the water go by. Have a conversation. You maniacs. Come on. Such words, you may imagine, strongly excited my curiosity, but the paroxysm of grief that had seized the stranger overcame his weakened powers, and many hours of reposed and tranquil conversation were necessary to restore his composure. Having conquered the violence of his feelings, he appeared to despise himself for being the slave of passion and quelling the dark tyranny of despair. He led me again to converse concerning myself personally. He asked me the history of my earlier years. The tale was quickly told, but it awakened various trains of reflection. I spoke of my desire of finding a friend, of my thirst for a more intimate sympathy with a fellow mind than had ever fallen to my lot, and expressed my conviction that a man could boast of little happiness who did not enjoy this blessing. "I agree with you," replied the stranger. "We are unfashioned creatures, but half made up. If one wiser, better, dearer than ourselves, such a friend ought to be, do not lend his aid to perfectionate our weak and faulty natures. I once had a friend, the most noble of human creatures, and am entitled, therefore, to judge respecting friendship. You have hope and the world before you and have no cause for despair. But I have lost everything and cannot begin life anew." As he said this, his countenance became expressive of a calm, settled grief that touched me to the heart. But he was silent and presently retired to his cabin. Even broken in spirit as he is, no one can feel more deeply than he does the beauties of nature. The starry sky, the sea, and every sight afforded by these wonderful regions seems still to have the power of elevating his soul from earth. Such a man has a double existence. He may suffer misery and be overwhelmed by disappointments, yet when he has retired into himself, he will be like a celestial spirit that has a halo around him, within whose circle no grief or folly ventures. Will you smile at the enthusiasm I express concerning this divine wanderer? You would not if you saw him. You have been tutored and refined by books and retirement from the world, and you are therefore somewhat fastidious. But this only renders you the more fit to appreciate the extraordinary merits of this wonderful man. Sometimes I have endeavored to discover what quality it is which he possesses that elevates him so immeasurably above any other person I ever knew. I believe it to be an intuitive discernment, a quick but never failing power of judgment, a penetration into the causes of things, unequaled for clearness and precision. Add to this a facility of expression and a voice whose varied intonations are soul-subduing music. August 19th, late 1700s. Yesterday the stranger said to me, "You may easily perceive, Captain Walton, that I have suffered great and unparalleled misfortunes. I have determined at one time that the memory of these evils should die with me, but you have won me to alter my determination. You seek for knowledge and wisdom as I once did, and I ardently hope that the gratification of your wishes may not be a serpent to sting you as mine has been. I do not know that the relation of my disasters will be useful to you, yet when I reflect that you are pursuing the same course, exposing yourself to the same dangers which have rendered me what I am, I imagine that you may deduce an apt moral from my tale, one that may direct you if you succeed in your undertaking and console you in case of failure. Prepare to hear of occurrences which are usually deemed marvelous. Were we among the tamer scenes of nature, I might fear to encounter your unbelief, perhaps your ridicule, but many things will appear possible in these wild and mysterious regions which would provoke the laughter of those unacquainted with the ever-varied powers of nature. Nor can I doubt but that my tale conveys in its series internal evidence of the truth of the events of which it is composed. You may easily imagine that I was much gratified by the offered communication, yet I could not endure that he should renew his grief by a recital of his misfortunes. I felt the greatest eagerness to hear the promised narrative, partly from curiosity and partly from a strong desire to ameliorate his fate if it were in my power. I expressed these feelings in my answer. "I thank you," he replied, "for your sympathy. But it is useless. My fate is nearly fulfilled. I wait but for one event, and then I shall repose in peace. I understand your feeling," continued he, perceiving that I wished to interrupt him, "but you are mistaken, my friend. If thus you will allow me to name you, nothing can alter my destiny. Listen to my history, and you will perceive how irrevocably it is determined." He then told me that he would commence his narrative the next day when I should be at leisure. This promise drew from me the warmest thanks. I have resolved every night, when I am not imperatively occupied by my duties, to record, as nearly as possible in his own words, what he has related during the day. If I should be engaged, I will at least make notes. This manuscript will doubtless afford you the greatest pleasure. But to me, who know him and who hear it from his own lips, with what interest and sympathy shall I read it in some future day? Even now, as I commence my task, his full-toned voice swells in my ears. His lustrous eyes dwell on me with all their melancholy sweetness. I see his thin hand raised in animation, while the lineaments of his face are irradiated by the soul within. Strange and harrowing must be his story. Frightful the storm which embraced the gallant vessel on its course and wrecked it thus. See you next time.